second noble truth you've been exploring with Susan and Bill. Actually, we've been exploring it our entire lives, whether we know it or not. We have come up with strategies to help us navigate the vicissitudes of dukkha. Yeah. And for me, what the Buddha was pointing to here is there is going to be this unsatisfactory quality within our experience. I think an aspect of the second noble truth is we're actually looking at what are the ways that we create undue suffering for ourselves, undue pain for ourselves through this activity of craving. And this word craving is synonymous. It's used synonymously with greed. Greed for sense pleasure. Greed for any pleasant sensory experience. And as I've been exploring craving in my own life, what's so interesting to me is that we're not actually craving the object itself. We're craving our ideas about the object, about the experience, the promise of it, what it seems like it's going to yield us, what it seems like it's going to give us, the promise of the experience. Andrea Fella calls this the story of craving. There's some enchantment of craving that we get entangled in and like mesmerized by and fascinated with. It's like, oh, if I get that, then I'll be loved. Or this deep-seated feeling of not quite feeling right will just be mitigated and I'll feel peaceful. Yeah. And in a way, the story of craving uses us. It wields us. Craving uses our words and our actions to obtain the desired object. It's like it's using us as a tool to gratify itself. If I just say this, move that way, obtain this, well then, and then you just fill in the blank with craving's story. Craving ends up hijacking not only our words and our actions, speech and body, but our intention. We move out of the wholesome intention of meeting our experience and meeting the people that we care about and love and strangers and people that we have difficulties with. We move out of meeting them from this place of friendliness, from this place of metta, from this place of benevolence, from a place of real compassion. We move out of renunciation and letting go and generosity. Cravings gets us moving into it shapes the mind so it starts to run these habits of ill will, lack of compassion, craving, right? So the word craving is also a shorthand for the interplay between greed, aversion, and delusion. So craving is used synonymously with greed, this activity of wanting, but it's also it's naming this interplay, this relationship, this dynamic relationship between greed, aversion, and delusion. And there is this mistaken belief, that's the delusion, that if we accumulate as many positive experiences as possible, that's the greed, and we keep the negative experiences or what we deem as negative experiences at bay, that's the aversion, then we'll be happy. This deluded belief gets us looking for happiness outside ourselves. That happiness is contingent on obtaining some pleasant sensory experience. And you see this so clearly in the teaching. Actually, you see it so clearly, and we experience it so directly with the Vedana, this feeling tone, this kind of push, pull. This part of the faculty of the heart mind that's feeling into experience, not an emotion feeling, but that's just feeling into, oh, this is pleasant, this is unpleasant. But if we're not mindful at that juncture, it easily moves into this push pull. The pleasant, it's like, I want. If it's unpleasant, it's like, I don't want. This leads into this push pull. And we also see this so clearly talked about and described by the Buddha in this teaching of the second arrow. Right? This tendency of the human heart to relieve pain through pleasant sensory experience. We experience pain and we want to relieve it through something that's pleasant. And this creates the underlying tendency in our own heart and mind to run from dukkha into the false refuge of pleasant sensory experience. The mind just starts casting about looking for relief from dukkha through pleasant sensory experience, instead of having an honest, direct encounter with dukkha so that it can be understood and that craving can actually be abandoned. And that this process of understanding and abandoning, it's not something that we will. It's really a moment of grace where the mind is just, the heart mind has been present to this pattern of craving, of running from dukkha so often that it's seen it for like the 100th time, and it knows where the millionth time, and it knows where it's going to go, where it's going to lead. And the mind just is like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore, right? This just doesn't taste good. It doesn't feel good in the body. I know where this is going to lead. And there's this affirmation, there's this heart that lets go. And there's the relief of like letting go of the inherent dissatisfaction within the craving. And it's a way of reconnecting to just these beautiful aspirations that you all talked about at the beginning, or when my beginning with you all, when you named all the beautiful aspirations for your own practice in your lives that you were wanting to live into, to embody. So this dukkha, having an honest encounter so that dukkha can be understood and the craving abandoned. And the Buddha, again, he named this in a teaching that it's through repeatedly seeing with wisdom that we abandon greed, aversion, delusion, miserliness. In this particular teaching, there's a whole list of unwholesome qualities that are abandoned. So we have this habit of taking the edge off of dukkha through seeking pleasant sensory experiences. And it can keep us beholden and trapped by the precarious nature of sensory experience, because these pleasant sights and smells and tastes and sensations of the body, they're impermanent. They can't give us the lasting peace, happiness, ease that is part of our birthright that we so long for. Yeah? And I want to be really clear that sometimes using pleasant sensory experience in a wise way is a part of our practice. Perhaps we've had some experience that has resulted in us feeling unsafe. And we can use pleasant sensory experience to reclaim a sense of safety in the body. This happened for me recently. I was in a month-long retreat. It was about 2 weeks in, was doing mindfulness of breathing. The body was felt really porous, and the heart mind was very soft. I went out for a walk, and I saw this man from a distance, and I could tell that he was unwell, that he wasn't mentally as stable. And he started to verbally harass me. And as the breath was there, as this was happening, and I was just checking, like, yeah, this is more bark than bite. I'm safe. He's not going to physically harm me. My mind knew that, but the body didn't. So once I got back to a place of safety, I did things that entailed taking in pleasant sensory experience to help restore a sense of safety in the body, right? And this is a way where we can use pleasant sensory experience in a way that is intelligent, that helps the mind come back into balance, that helps the heart mind come back to some sense of like agency, a sense of inherent dignity, a sense of just safety. However, when the mind is actually in balance and there is well-being in the heart-mind system, we do want to intervene on this pattern, this habit of running away from dukkha to the false refuge of pleasant sensory experience, just intervening on that pattern. And I'm hoping to, next week when we get together, just talk about some ways, some healthy ways of doing that, some very gentle, gradual ways of meeting our craving with a lot of love and understanding and care. But also some clarity around, like, I'm headed towards freedom. This is my commitment. Again, those beautiful qualities that you brought in. This is my commitment to freedom.